In recent years, as New York City's subway system descended into a crisis of delays and mechanical problems, transit officials repeatedly used one word to deflect blame: overcrowding. A dramatic increase in riders had overwhelmed the system, clogging platforms and preventing trains from leaving stations, claimed officials from the state capitol in Albany to the downtown Manhattan headquarters of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, which runs the subway. More than 300,000 weekday delays were classified as being caused by overcrowding in public reports in 2017, about 40% of all delays. The subway was simply a victim of its own success, officials said. On Tuesday, Andy Byford, the new president of New York City Transit, abruptly broke from the party line, calling the overcrowding classification not particularly meaningful and vowing to provide the public with more detailed information. It was the biggest change in the way the MTA measures subway delays in years. If we're to truly improve the service that we offer, you have to get to the underlying root cause, Mr. Byford said at a meeting of New York City Transit, which oversees the subway and the buses. So therefore I don't want to just see overcrowding. I want to see what caused that overcrowding, what was the absolute underlying root cause. Mr. Byford's comments followed a New York Times investigation, published in December, that found that officials have used sloppy data collection and accounting games to hide the true causes of the subway's problems from residents. Ridership has increased significantly in recent years, with average daily trips increasing from 4 million in the 1990s to about 6 million today. That has doubtlessly caused some delays. Trains are intended to spend just 30 seconds at the platform before leaving, and riders trying to cram into packed cars can make trains linger longer. But an analysis of data and documents showed that other delays are inappropriately classified as overcrowding, including when breakdowns or signal problems force some trains or lines to stop running, leaving more people to squeeze onto fewer trains. When ridership actually dipped slightly between March 2015 and March 2017, delays blamed on overcrowding increased from 19,000 to 30,000. Records show. The MTA has also used other techniques in the past, including a category called supplement schedule, to obscure problems. In 2010, whenever maintenance work in the system caused a scheduling change, virtually all delays were classified under the supplement schedule label, regardless of their cause. Internal reports have found problems with the classification system for years. A 2015 report found that officials were collecting data that could be used to identify the root causes of delays but were failing to analyze it. In a news conference after the board meeting, Mr. Byford suggested that a more accurate breakdown of delays might also increase the urgency of upgrading the system's signal system, a move that would allow more trains to run and reduce overcrowding. Mr. Byford also said he was not necessarily saying that the M.T.A.'s use of the overcrowding classification had misled the public or had blamed riders for subway problems, a point that was echoed by other officials, including a spokesman for the MTA and its chairman, Joseph J. LaHota. This is exactly why LaHota hired Andy Byford, a world-class transit expert, to bring a fresh set of eyes to the system, utilize best practices from around the world and turn things around, said the spokesman, John Weinstein. Still, transit advocates praised Mr. Byford's comments as a breath of fresh air. We are glad to hear that somebody at the MTA has come around, and the real test will be whether they then make the investment in the signals, in the cars, so that they don't have to use this fig leaf any longer, said Danny Perlstein of the Riders Alliance, an advocacy group. We are glad for this reckoning, but a reckoning alone is not enough, Mr. Perlstein said. What we need is a credible, long-term plan to end the transit crisis. The Riders Alliance and other groups have expressed cautious optimism at the new subway chief's first few weeks on the job. Mr. Byford, 52, worked his way up at the London subway system and earned a reputation in Toronto for engaging with the public and ultimately turning around a struggling transit system. In New York, Mr. Byford has pledged to usher in a new era of frankness and transparency for the agency, including using plain language in the subway's dealings that customers, not just transportation wonks, can understand, and issuing full-throat apologies directly to passengers when things go awry. He came at an important point in the history of New York's 113-year-old subway system. Monthly subway delays increased from about 28,000 in 2012 to more than 70,000 last year, and, after a series of track fires and train derailments, Gov. Andrew M. Cuomo declared a state of emergency. Mr. Cuomo reinstalled Mr. LOLA'S, a former MTA chairman, as head of the Transit Authority, and Mr. LOLA'S established an $836 million plan intended to fix the most pressing problems. 6 months into the action plan, there have been some modest improvements but little progress in the areas important to riders, such as how long they wait for trains. In Albany, state lawmakers are debating a congestion pricing plan that would charge drivers entering the most congested neighborhoods in Manhattan and would bring in hundreds of millions of dollars for the Transit Authority. In the M.T.A.'s top leadership ranks, officials have responded to another Times investigation on the authority's inefficient construction practices by working to implement reforms. And some members of the M.T.A.'s board have become increasingly critical about how projects are prioritized. We're trying to be more involved in significant decisions, and transparency is a big part of that, said Carl Weisbrod, who was appointed to the board last year by Mayor Bill de Blasio. The more transparent, the more reliable the information, the more fine-grained the detail, the more effective we can be, and I think that's what today was about.